Oh, welcome back from the break. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has summoned 5 traders over air pollution and sanitation offences. The 5 persons, mostly fish smokers in Chorkor, were directed to appear before the Assembly during the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Clean Ghana campaign monitoring exercise. The team also discovered that most fish smokers in the Chorkor area have been operating without medical certificate. There is more in the following report.
Although fish smokers play a major role in putting food on the table of many, the poor sanitary conditions surrounding the operation have come under serious concern. Their activities have also come under criticism as a major cause of air pollution in the city. According to a recent IQ Air Index, Accra has earned the unenviable position as one of the cities with the poorest air quality globally. Launching the 2024 edition of the Clean Ghana campaign in Accra, Metro Health Director of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Florence Kuchi, said this year's campaign will focus on activities polluting the air.
This 2024, one of the major things we'll be doing much is going to be on sensitization and some mitigation measures on air pollution. We have seen that we've just begun the year, but per the news that are coming out, we've seen that Accra is not in the best state when it comes to air quality that we are breathing within the city center.
The team kicked start its monitoring exercise with a visit to some fish smoking sites in Chorkor to assess the sanitation situations in the area.
Who accept I beboa just who dear bra toilet in Nana go and I also am ewa. Yeah.
And then 3 days home to do no more free. I have a guama, my yomusa, where the Sana ever say, when you're winning America. And I better be here if you're.
Just look at it.
She got me Shalwell, a car, she's got Bunny Shallow, Junior, or not a love at Julia, what do you want?
You see,
This is the water. Well, let us even ask her, okay, what
Some aggrieved residents of the community said fumes from these smoking joints have been a nuisance to them and the entire neighborhood.
Noni yo emoji la soin e gbewo la soin mo chudie bele efe la soin e gbewo ko to chumno ko mama no gbele mi kin la soin fite mama mi fe shiane mi fe ko achele la soin onye mi ota.
Now whenever they start smoking, you can't stay here because there are rooms and everywhere. You can't even sit. Yeah, you can't even sit around. So we should do something about it.
So this woman falls within the vulnerable group, yes, because she is pregnant. You know, I mentioned that there are 3 categories of vulnerability. So what makes a situation serious is breathing in, it can have an impact on the unborn baby.
Florence Kuchi said the assembly will in the coming days organize a training program for traders to help address the situation.
There's going to be training for these fish processors on hygienic content, on how to handle their environment, even how to handle the fish before and after processing, the kind of water they should use, even how to display it in the market.
At the end of the monitoring exercise, 5 persons have been summoned to appear before the assembly over various sanitary offences. Kwesi Adai Kwarten's report for Joy News.
Well, joining us for a conversation on this is Desmond Appiah, who's country lead for Clean Air Fund Ghana. We also have Hey Retin Kung, lead on the Removing Pollution from Play Project Global Designing Cities Initiative, GDCI. We also have Honorable Samuel Ni Eje Teria, Municipal Chief Executive, Colette Clotte Municipal Assembly. They're all joining us here. Grateful to you for joining us. Now, let me start. Let me start with the project lead, the country lead for Clean Air Ghana, Desmond. So Desmond, I mean, if we listen to that, it's quite problematic. But how widespread is this that we should all be alarmed to join in the campaign against such?
Thank you very much for the invite, and we are very excited that your station is picking up on the sources of the pollution and then also asking the questions on what can be done. And I think it's important also to highlight that the reason why we are concerned is that the impact of the pollution on our health and also on our pockets, on the economy, is also extremely high. We should be concerned because it is widespread. If you go around our city, you will find so many places where there's refuse burning. You find places where the use of wood and charcoal for cooking is also widespread. And on top of that, you also find that there are a lot of vehicles in the system that are poorly maintained and are emitting a lot of soot and other pollutants. So these three that I've mentioned are the main sources of air pollution, the ones that we have a lot of, or we can have a lot of impact on. There's also the background natural sources of the pollution, which includes the harmattan and the like. So it is widespread right now across the whole city and across the country. We are in the harmattan season. So there's that background high level of dust, which is affecting visibility, affecting vulnerable people in the community, and also all of us. But there's also the human aspect, which is extremely important that we be able to pay attention to, mainly because we can do something about it. If you look at the video you showed, the smoking practices, and in one of our projects, we have a sensor in that neighborhood, and that sensor is almost always reading very high because the levels of smoke coming from the operations of the fish smokers is high. And so these are things that we can be doing things about. We can take some remedial action and some mitigation. The last bit on this point is that the enforcement aspect is quite challenging. You saw that the AMA officials are talking more of the sanitation because we've recognized that bylaws do not or are not very strong on air pollution. And so we are working also to be able to work with the local assemblies to review those bylaws so that the air pollution aspects become more prominent. The EPA has been doing a lot of things. They already have laws and regulations. And part of what we are working with EPA and the assemblies to do is to bring that national level laws to be meaningful at the local level so that it can empower the assemblies in the enforcement aspects.
So let me bring in Hayretin Gunk here. You heard Mr. Appiah saying that, I mean, it affects all of us, but people would want to find out, so what is the impact on me or on all of us, such that the real impact, so that people can sit up to say, well, then of course we need to do something about it.
Thank you so much for the invite. In terms of the global context, I think we can say we are seeing that exposure to air pollution is already a major risk factor, and it has significant consequences. WHO estimates like 4.2 million people die every year due to pollution in outdoor environments. So it's a very significant factor. What we saw in the previous video, open waste, burning, cooking, in addition to those things, 40% in Accra context, 40% of the pollution comes from traffic congestion and vehicle traffic. So it's something that needs to be addressed. When we think about the most vulnerable, our kids, our elderly, they are more exposed to this risk. Just by being outside, they get impacted, their lives get impacted significantly. So with this collaboration with the municipality and the Clean Air Fund, we're aiming to create these pilot projects in Chorkor that aim to create these safer spaces for air quality.
Interesting. So what must happen? What should all of us do to ensure that we minimize this, or even if it's happening, minimize the impact that it will have on all of us, the environment and individuals?
Like I mentioned, I think what we are interested in, our organization is focused on how we can create better mobility options for people so that they can move from one place to another without emitting a lot of pollution. So in terms of public transit, cycling, walking, how can we create infrastructure that supports these modes of transit so we can reduce the pollution that comes out of this? So that's going to be the main focus. But as we've seen in the previous video, there are other challenges in Accra context that we need to address related to open waste burning, cooking. These should be addressed and organized with guidelines and enforced. So it's a complex issue and it's a very urgent issue. And I'm happy that we're discussing this in this moment. So
let me bring in someone who has the power to ensure that something changes about all of this. Samuel Nieje Teria is Municipal Chief Executive for Chorkor. Honorable, thanks for joining us. So what is your assembly doing to ensure that some of these insanitary conditions around where we do get our source of food from are checked to protect the people? Honorable, kindly unmute so we can hear what you're telling us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would like to say that there are a few things that are low-hanging fruits that we can pluck, and then straight away it may have some effects on the pollution situation. And some of them have to do with the fact that if most of us start doing a little bit more walking, a little bit more cycling, etc., to wherever we are going to, that will be helpful. And also probably we need to look at having better public transport systems so that most people that drive tend to public transport system, that therefore having lesser vehicular traffic. And then also another area we could look at is, I mean, if I use the Kingsway area, for example, because of the hawkers selling directly to passengers in vehicles, it delays the traffic, and that is one source of concern. And also generally street hawking also delays the traffic. So we have people selling, sitting in the traffic area, maybe sometimes 12 or so hours in a day. All this is not good. So these are some of the things that if we enforce vigorously, it should have some effect, more or less immediately.
From the visuals we're seeing, these are quite troubling environment, and they are preparing food that we'll all go out there and buy and eat. So as the head of a municipal assembly, what strategic things are you doing to ensure that we are able to eradicate this sort of practice and give them the better ways of drying the fish for us to go buy and eat? Honorable, kindly unmute so we can hear you, Samuel.
So I couldn't hear what you said because the line was seriously breaking up.
Okay.
I didn't
can you hear me now?
So you may have to repeat yourself.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, better, much better.
Good. So I'm trying to find out from you.
Yes, I can.
That as the head of the municipal assembly, what are you doing to ensure that, I mean, these conditions in which the women are smoking fish for us to go and buy and eat are just not right. So what are you doing to eliminate that and give them quite a very good environment within which they can smoke their fish for you and I?
Okay, thank you very much. So we have similar situation to what is in Odududiodo in Isu. And probably a couple of years ago, Osu Night Market, for example, the Honorable Member of Parliament did something about the way they smoke their fish there. That is raising the roof of the night market and also putting certain equipment or machines that are able to extract the smoke from the underneath the roof where they were. And I think we need to do more of such things in the areas that they smoke the fish. Provide more ovens that will allow us to have more user-friendly ways of smoking our fish. But this cut across areas by the sea, seaside, the coastal area, that is places like Tema, Teshi, Nungwa, Osu, Chorkor, La. And I'm sure we are doing our best, but it will take some time. Just like the intervention that was done in Osu, probably we need more in other areas.
So I wanted to understand the specific things that your assembly is doing. Are these things that you are doing yourself in your municipality?
Okay, so for example, we have plans for the Osu night market, where most of this roasting of fish is done, but it's in the process. And I'm suggesting that if more of these are done along the coast, it will also be very, very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, let me bring in Desmond up here. Desmond, I want to wrap up with you on this. Now, he says if these things are done, it would help. I mean, do we have an avenue where Clean Air Fund or any stakeholder could help in ensuring that these are extended to other parts of the country so that we could check the smoke and pollution of the air for us to breathe in?
Yes, and I think I'm happy to say that we have been building the capacity of some assemblies that we've been working with in the last 6 months, including the AMA officials that you saw, and other environmental health and other technocrats from the assemblies. The idea is that we need to first build the awareness and the knowledge base so that people begin to see that this is a real challenge. Now, there's also the bit where you need to monitor the levels of the pollution so that people can begin to see that these are the levels and what it means, the impact on their health. And so Clean Air Fund has a number of projects going. We are developing an MOU with the EPA because they have the ultimate mandate for improving the quality of the environment, including the air, to be able to ensure that the awareness creation is built and people can know what it means to themselves and also to the larger community. You know, sometimes the pollution may be happening at one end, but the consequences felt at another place because air pollution is transboundary. It moves. You may be burning at this point, but it's moving to another enclave where the consequence is greater. And so that level of engagement is necessary. Augmenting the EPA's monitoring capacity is also necessary and important. We are hearing and seeing EPA coming out a lot more with warnings on things that we can or couldn't be doing, depending on the pollution levels around. So currently, I think the capacity for monitoring has improved across Accra, and that is helping to give real-time information, real-time data. Previously, the information would be a bit more delayed, but real-time information, we can go in the morning and check the status of the pollution in our area, and it kind of informs us the next line of action that we take. And so that is one aspect. There are also other projects that we are supporting, working with. We work through grantees. We are undertaking some research to understand why it's even more difficult to implement or enforce environmental regulations. So we can have better understanding and then we can tailor solutions towards that. We are working with the Ministry of Environment also to highlight these issues of air pollution and to understand better what the impact of the policy solutions that have been professed would mean on ground, just so that it helps to tailor the solutions. And the typical example is the work that we are doing with GDCI and Chorkor Municipal Assembly to look at pollution at playgrounds specific, because pollution, it affects children more severely than adults, mainly because children breathe in faster. They are also closer to the levels of the pollution if it's coming from vehicles, for instance. They are shorter, and so they breathe in faster, their heart beats faster, they breathe in more, their organs are not fully developed, and so if there are pollutants in the air, it affects them more. And that's why this pilot that we are doing with GDCI and Chorkor is the first of its kind, using the designing and monitoring of air quality in their spaces. So we'll be able to tell that if we make some amendments and changes to maybe areas where there are schools and there are children, then we realize those interventions lead to reduction in pollution levels, then it can be a policy recommendation for better application or wider application across the whole system to be able to reduce the exposure levels for children. And that is also one key aspect. Then we've undertaken a study which has highlighted the perception, understanding, and knowledge of our citizens in 4 major cities: Accra, Tema, Newtown, Ashiaman, Kumasi, and Tamale. And it's highlighting the levels of knowledge and how people perceive pollution, things that people are doing to maybe safeguard themselves. And it's also be part of what is going to influence the direction that we take. For instance, if we've learned that traditionalists seem to pay more attention to environmental issues than Christians and Muslims. And that is a very key finding, which we think means that when we are addressing areas, we are addressing larger audiences, we can tailor our programs to be able to target the areas that we need to have most impact. Also, it's clear that women are most affected. Vulnerable people in our communities are most affected. And when we say vulnerable, it's easy to look at Accra and say, oh, these areas, there's no impact. No.
Okay.
Transboundary, it affects everybody, but more vulnerable people are most affected. It helps to even advise the assemblies to be able to say, focus on the areas where people are more vulnerable so that you can have the impact to reduce the deaths that we're experiencing. In Africa, over 1 million people are dying from air pollution-related diseases, and it's next only to HIV and AIDS. And so in Ghana, reports are saying at least 28,000. In Accra, over 18,000 a year. And so we need to be able to be acting. The cost to the economy from a World Bank study a couple of years ago is about $2.5 billion a year to the economy. And granted that we've gone to IMF or the World Bank to seek 2 billion or 3 billion, it should put it in perspective for us what we can do and what we can save as we are saving lives.
Everything. I'm aware that your organization is also doing something in this regard in schools. Share more light on that for us.
Yes, like Desmond mentioned, we have this project called Removing Pollution from Play. Children are most vulnerable to air pollution, so we would like to focus on school areas in Chorkor. And there are schools that we identified right next to busy arterials, busy vehicle corridors. So we are thinking how to reduce that vehicle traffic so these pollution levels are reduced. We can also create these play areas, playgrounds around these spaces. So not only school community can use these spaces, but also the residents around these schools can use. So we hope this pilot project will be successful. We'll be collecting data, we'll be doing workshops with the communities. And when we evaluate the results, we hope to scale this up so we can implement similar projects around Chorkor and also in Greater Accra.
Now, you're only targeting Greater Accra, because there are a lot of communities along the coastal region of Ghana, and of course they would also be engaging in polluting the air. So is it just in Accra or you're expanding?
This is going to be our first project and it will be in Accra, but with our network and connections, we hope this could be implemented in different parts of Ghana, as well as different countries around Ghana in Africa. So we'll see. We hope really getting good results with Chorkor, and this could be a model that we can implement in different parts of the world as well.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for spending your time with us this afternoon here on the Pulse and Joy News. Well, and as well, I'm grateful to you for joining us here on the Pulse, wherever you watched us from. Grateful that you could join us. Let's meet again, God willing, tomorrow. On behalf of the team, please, thank you, and do stay tuned to Joy. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. God willing, we'll meet on Prime at 7.